watching movies and jamming out. K-Flix 198.4 Fiction Radio.
Welcome back to K-Flix Fiction Radio. Great news, everyone. We're officially back in the 1950s. I know you've been sitting around thinking to yourself, boy, I wish these dudes would get back into some 50s grooves. So Dustin and I are here to give you what you need. It's time to sparkle.
Yeah, that's right, Shawn. We can't leave our home territory, and that is the 50s as portrayed later in time.
Yes, that is our bread and butter.
We're talking about Sparkle, the movie Sparkle, which is actually two movies. This is also our second double feature.
Yeah.
We've got the 1976 original film, and we also have a 2012 Whitney Houston-backed remake.
And it's crazy that movies can be so popular they get remade, and I had seen neither of these movies.
Yeah, same. I had shockingly little knowledge of any of this and learned so much in this process. This movie is ostensibly loosely based on the story of the Supremes, Diana Ross and the Supremes, and their rise to stardom with Motown Records. I emphasize loosely. Having looked into it, it's not terribly similar from what I can find to the real circumstances.
Oh, okay.
And I look forward to the day that we cover the movie Dreamgirls, because that is also loosely based on the origin story of the Supremes.
Well, thankfully, dear listeners, you only have to wait like a month and a half because it's
okay.
on
You're giving
deck.
it up. Yes, it is on the list for this run. I mean, I'm happy about it. I'm excited that it worked out that way, that we get to talk about all things Supremes and all things sort of Motown.
Me too.
Let's start with the first film. This movie, Sparkle. First of all, I'm going to list things I didn't know about it. I didn't know, well, it existed. Shamefully, didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was written by Joel Schumacher.
Nope.
I didn't know that Joel Schumacher wrote Car Wash and The Wiz also.
I knew about The Wiz.
Now there is, I want to get this out of the way real quick. There is some information I found online, and I cannot confirm this, but that the original draft of Sparkle was actually written by a playwright named Lonnie Elder.
Okay.
And then it was retooled by Schumacher, who got the film screenwriting credit.
Gotcha. All right.
So, you know, it's a weird world, screenwriting credits. It's not always the person who came up with the idea. But this one's strange. There's no story by or anything that you would normally give the originator of the creative material, or based on or something like that. But I did find some information that seemed to indicate that it was first written in some form by Lonnie Elder, who was a famous and successful playwright in his own right.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I can't figure it out for sure. So I lest it go unmentioned, there it is.
Sure. Yeah.
Schumacher may not have come up with this all in his brain, but he certainly found a niche translating, for lack of a better word, black films for Hollywood production in the 70s.
What else did you not know about this film, Dustin?
Okay, well, based on the fact that I didn't know it existed, as I said, I guess you could argue I knew nothing about it. I didn't know it was the story of the Supremes, or based on the story of the Supremes. Didn't know the ties to Dreamgirls, which became a stage play, I think 5 years after this movie was made. So 1981, that would have been. I didn't know Curtis Mayfield wrote the songs for this.
Yeah, very cool.
Boy, are they good.
Oh my God, yeah. So great. I mean, of course, it's Curtis Mayfield. What do you expect?
Curtis Mayfield, yeah. So this movie is, like we said, it's the story of an all-female vocal act from start to stardom.
A trio.
Which is similar to the Supreme story. They started out with 4 members and then eventually made it to 2. And then, well, in later years, all kinds of people were in and out, and Diana Ross left and came back. And I mean, they were around for quite a while.
Yeah. Well, much like the Temptations.
Much like the Temptations, which, okay, well, let's get into it. The Supremes... The Supremes started as an act known as the Primettes, and the Primettes were what is known as a sister act for an all-guy group who were called the Primes.
Okay.
Now, the Primes, shortly after starting to get some success, went on to merge with a group called the Distants, and those two acts together formed what we now know as the Temptations.
Oh.
So the Supremes and the Temptations are tied from the very beginning. The two
Wow.
biggest Motown acts ever. I would say. I mean, I think factually that's true. I think the Supremes are still the highest like selling all-girl group of all time.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. But it's just, it's crazy. Like in a world where Destiny's Child has existed, etc., like they still hold that record.
Yeah.
They were deeply tied with the Temptations and got their start performing with them.
Awesome.
Now back to Curtis Mayfield. So at this same time, this is a movie about a Motown act, right? This is a soul-sounding record at its heart, and it's very like based on 60s music, like Motown records in the 60s in its heyday. But it was all written in the 70s for when the movie was made. And Curtis Mayfield was kind of an up-and-comer at this time as specifically a movie soundtrack guy with like blaxploitation films especially. He was known, he's most known probably for writing the soundtrack to a movie called Superfly.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a blaxploitation film, a lot of crime drama along the lines of like Shaft or what's your guy? Dolomite. Yeah.
Or Coffee or anything like that. Yeah.
Sure. And these were very, these movies were they were selling very well at the time. So he got some attention for that. Real quick, in case you're not familiar, I'm going to play a little bit of Superfly.
This is one of those classic cool guys walking into a room.
Oh, it's so
songs.
Cool. Yes.
The man of the hour has an air of great power.
It's so much funkier than the stuff he wrote for Sparkle.
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's where music had gotten to. Like Sparkle, he's having to go back and write as if he's writing 10, 15 years earlier. And he kills it at that, too.
Yeah, the songs in this movie are outstanding.
So there's Superfly. I'm going to give you one more for the kids.
Got to educate them, Dustin.
Who might only know Curtis Mayfield through samples. Here's a bit of his song, Move On Up.
Kanye will not be coming in here in a second.
Hush not, child, and don't cry.
Well, I was going to say, for the kids who may only recognize it this way, it is sampled in the song Touch the Sky.
Oh, yeah.
Very famously. Yeah. So there's your Kanye. I mean, I think this song's great, too.
This song is great because the original song is great. He just took that beat and lifted it. Like, that's why it's great.
The Daft Punk effect.
Yeah,
That's Curtis Mayfield. If you don't know Curtis Mayfield, fuck off. Go listen to some Curtis Mayfield. Come back and appreciate what he did for this movie.
Just to toss out a couple of random information facts and cool facts, the budget for this movie was $1 million, and the total box office gross was $4 million in 1976.
Yeah, which was considered a flop.
Sure.
Hollywood, the only place where a 3 times return is a failure in business. Well, because the budget's never really the budget, right? They had to market it and blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
But yeah, notably, even for the 70s, it was a pretty low budget movie. And it was mentioned multiple times in things I read, like it was meant to be much bigger in scope and they had to really rein it in to fit the budget.
That makes complete sense. It feels like a movie that wants to be bigger than it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Even the 2012 one feels that way by extension.
Yeah.
In places. They do a better job, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bigger story than what they have the time or the resources to tell, I think.
And I do think that both do a good job in the restrictions that they are dealt.
I would say the 76 version sort of lurches along for me.
Okay.
The beats of it are not like overdeveloped. This is one of the things that I feel like they really smooth out in the 2012. Like in the 1976 version, it doesn't even fully feel like Sparkle's story to me. It feels more like the story of the group.
Honestly, it feels more of a Sister story, even after Sister is not involved in the story any longer. It still feels like the story of Sister.
Yeah, definitely. And they changed that completely in the remake.
Yeah, in the 2012 version, Sister is still a very focal part of the story in the beginning half of the movie, even in the latter half, but it is a Sparkle story.
Yeah, they make it a lot clearer that it's about the character it's named after.
Sparkle goes through more things in 2012, whereas Sparkle is an observer to the struggles of Sister in the 76 version.
I mean, well, spoiler alert right here. In the 2012 version, Sister does live to the end of the movie.
Right, yeah.
So her death scene reminded me so much, Sean, of Tender Mercies.
Oh.
When they just cut to Max Sledge's dead daughter. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was kind of the same thing with Sister. They cut to the coffin and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That went fast.
I didn't even make that parallel, but you're totally fucking right.
Yeah, they were really going for the shock value there, I think. But yeah, it just felt like, oh, wow. Because it moves, again, it's a bigger story than they were able to fit in.
Yeah.
It feels, and this is true in both versions, it feels like Sister's sort of downfall happens too quickly. Like her engagement to Satin and her addiction problems, it all comes on really quick in terms of how much scene time is spent on it in the movie. Sort of 5 minutes after she meets Satin, they're engaged, and then 5 minutes later, he's beating the hell out of her, and 5 minutes later, it's over, you know?
I will say the 2012 version did a little bit better with that.
It did.
Because it gave you that long montage that passed time.
That's true. They did fix it up a bit with that. I forgot about that. Yeah. I mean, lots of stuff in the 2012 one fixes up because also the mother character, Emma, is played by Whitney Houston and becomes a much bigger role in the 2012 version. She sings in it. I mean,
yeah,
she's not going to not.
Yeah, it's Whitney. If you're going to put Whitney Houston in there, you're going to have Whitney Houston sing. Yeah. They made a lot of improvements in the 2012 version that I like a lot. The character of Styx is way better in the 2012 version than the character of Styx in the 76 version.
Yeah, he's kind of creepy still in the 76 version. I also liked what they did with Satin.
Oh,
in both versions. He's still a piece of shit, but like you get to see like how it happened. Like in the 76 one, he's just a piece of shit from the start. And you're like, don't get with that piece of shit. And then she does.
I would argue that Mike Epps' Satin is a piece of shit from the start because you can tell what he's doing in that stand-up clip that you see, and then even one of the people that's watching it turns to all of the people that are around her and says, you know, he's making fun of us, right?
You are supposed to get that vibe, but like you don't right away get the sense that he's like a full-on abuser.
Yes, very true.
And the way they portray that, the way that comes on, I think is done more artfully in the 2012 version. Listen, I think the male characters in general are much more palatable in the 2012 version.
Yeah, I won't deny that at all. They're quite uncomfortable in the 76 version.
And I think their portrayal in the original was important, and it reflected a perspective that was much closer in time to the setting of the film, which was sort of this epicenter of American civil rights and Black Power and feminism movements all coming together at the same time. And so the 76 version makes you feel uncomfortable, but maybe that's because there's more truth and realism in it.
I think you're totally right.
In terms of watching a movie and enjoying it, yes, 2012 is it goes down a lot easier.
Yes.
I would say overall, if I wanted to like paint with a broad brush on what's different, the 2012 version, like it feels like a biopic for, you know, a group that didn't actually exist. Again, it's loosely based on the Supremes, but it's ultimately a fictional act, but it still plays out in the same way as all these biopic movies we've talked about, like we talked about in the Walk Hard episode. It's the same sort of beats that they follow.
Yeah, I was going to say Walk Hard without the comedy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, well, yeah, it's any of those movies. It's from being, you know, whatever it is, poor or artistically unfulfilled, whatever it is, to stardom, to downfall, back to, you know, the ultimate landing point of everything's okay, generally. I don't even know if the 76 one lands on everything's okay. It just lands on everything is. It's a little darker.
I would say overall it's a happy enough ending in the 76 version of it.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not the sparkly ending that the 2012 version has.
I mean, Sister's still dead in that one. I guess she's still in jail in the 2012 one because, oh man, it was so fun watching Satin get killed.
Oh God, yeah.
Watching this movie after watching the original, you're like double excited for this guy to get what he deserved. Like he didn't get what he deserved in the last one.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that he was going to be dead.
No, I didn't either.
When they started fighting him, I was like, oh, they're going to run out or he's going to leave or something. Nope, fucking killed him. And they don't really resolve Sister's story there. She takes the fall for his murder, pleads self-defense, but it's pretty tricky in the 60s for being a woman and having that charge. Don't envy her position.
No, that was not going to be an easy stint.
What else is different?
The 76 version takes place in Harlem, New York, and the 2012 version takes place in Detroit, Michigan.
That's true, yes. Which Detroit is more accurate to Motown Records and the Supremes and all that. And then eventually they get the Columbia Records deal, courtesy of Booger.
I know, yeah, Curtis Armstrong. I got so happy when he showed up. I was like, yes, this is great.
Curtis Armstrong from Revenge of the Nerds. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, Sean, were there any other actors that you recognize from other things we've talked about? in either of these
bet
movies?
there was. Yeah. The 1976 version, the character of Satin has like a right-hand man kind of goon. That character's name is Ham. The actor playing Ham is Dwayne Jesse, who played Otis Day from Otis Day and the Knights in Animal House.
Yeah. The guy who bought the rights to the band name and went on to perform as them in real life.
Yeah, with other members of his fucking family. How crazy is that? I mean, of course, we had no idea going into this movie because we were so unfamiliar with the IP of Sparkle. I had no idea Dwayne Jesse was in this. That is flooring news.
So good. I honestly didn't even recognize him in the movie.
Neither
That
did
was a
I.
credits catch.
It was still awesome. I had to go back and look after that. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I sort of second guessed it of like, well, I think there might just be another guy named Dwayne Jesse.
Sure, yeah. But nope, same dude. Yeah, Otis Day himself.
Oh my God. That made me really happy. What a crossover.
Good stuff.
Getting back into the music of Sparkle, I find the soundtrack to be very interesting for this movie because it doesn't work like a normal soundtrack would work. Normally, you would take the cast that did the songs for the movie and you would release that as your soundtrack.
Sure, yeah.
Never happened.
No, not what they did. They just recorded it with Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul.
Yeah. What a fucking baller move. They were like, hey, you guys sound great, but we got Aretha and she wants to release her 24th studio album.
Yeah, I mean, we've dealt with movies where they've done some fuckery before, like Streets of Fire. They swapped out different, voices here and there. This is a wholly new thing in that they just had Aretha do the whole album.
Yeah.
And that was the soundtrack, even though we don't hear her in the movie.
No.
We only hear her on the record, and we don't hear anyone from the movie on the record. Maybe some backup singers. From what I read, the instrumental tracks and some of the backup tracks were sort of copy paste into her versions. Now, did you dig into any of the little drama involving her soundtrack recording?
No.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. The whole Supremes thing, everything kind of comes together in a weird way here. Aretha Franklin recorded this soundtrack album, but she was not the one originally tapped to do this recording. Originally, Curtis Mayfield approached her sister, Carolyn, to do this.
Oh.
Because it turns out Carolyn wrote a bunch of songs for Aretha's early career. Like, her sister was like one of her primary songwriters. So there was a little bit of drama in that Aretha came in and basically went, I'm more famous. You, sister Carolyn, are signed to my record label, and just pulled rank. And when I haven't had a hit in a while, I need to do this.
Yeah.
And did it. And it gave her only hit of the 70s, I think. But what's crazy is when I look at this and when I hear about this, the backstory, in my mind, it matches Aretha Franklin's backstory way more than the Supremes. The Supremes the members were not sisters. They all knew each other. They grew up in the same housing project in Detroit, but they weren't related. Aretha Franklin, on the other hand, came up singing and writing with her two sisters, Carolyn and Irma, and their story is much more similar, from what I can tell, to this.
Okay,
especially with Carolyn as the sort of Sparkle character, and I think they leaned into this fact in the 2012 version because they really played up Sparkle as the songwriter of the group, whereas that wasn't the case in the 76. They were all vocalists, and it was kind of generally accepted Sister was the best. In the 2012 one, they say, yeah, Sister's the best singer, but Sparkle's the one writing everything. So it's this weird case of like life imitating art and then art imitating life back again. I don't know. It just feels too serendipitous to be like, oh, it's not related to Aretha Franklin's story at all, at least in the 2012 one. I just feel like that was a conscious decision to lean into that.
That's a totally fair point. I had not considered any of that.
So we've mentioned a couple times now that Whitney Houston was in the 2012 remake. She wasn't just in it, she was sort of its champion. She long stated that the movie Sparkle was her favorite film. And I think looking at her life and career as a whole, it's easy to see why. She started in the music industry very young. She's a survivor of domestic abuse. There's just all these parallels with Whitney Houston's life that fit this.
Yeah, a lot of overlap.
Fit these themes as well. She was just a big fan of the movie Sparkle, and that turned into, she actually bought the rights to remake it, and in the early 2000s planned to do so, although that didn't quite get off the ground because
unfortunately Aaliyah was who she wanted to play Sparkle, and Aaliyah tragically passed away at a very young age in the early 2000s.
Yeah, tragedy number 1 for the 2012 Sparkle remake, but it wasn't the last one.
Sadly, no.
No, by the time this movie got made, we lost Whitney Houston as well.
Even the release date had to be pushed a little bit.
Like, this was like kind of meant to be, and I think could have been a big resurgence for her career, and it just, it didn't go that way because she was gone. Right after filming it, before, like you said, before it was released, she died, and they had to kind of figure out what to do with this movie, and it was kind of overshadowed, I think, by just the loss of Whitney Houston.
When that kind of a legacy is attached to the movie of being somebody's final thing, or when they die while shooting it, such as Brandon Lee or something like that, it's always going to follow that project.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
Yeah, The Dark Knight.
It was the defining thing about this, was it was Whitney Houston's last thing ever. Mm-hmm. But that said, she really brought it.
She did, yeah. Well, I mean, not even just singing. Everybody knows that she can sing. And honestly, everybody knows that she can act, too. If you saw The Bodyguard, she's great in The Bodyguard.
That's true.
I'm shocked that she didn't have a huge acting career after The Bodyguard.
I mean, Whitney Houston is one of those few people who has like worn the crown of like most popular person in the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's rare, but that happens, and it happens especially with pop stars. I would say even more than with just straight actors.
That's true.
And just another quick fact about 2012, while, Joel Schumacher did get the based on credit in this one, because he did write the original screenplay.
Sure,
He
of course,
got it. The guy he took it from didn't, but he got it. It was a new screenplay for this version, and it was written by Mara Brock Akil, and she is a huge powerhouse that I was not aware of, but she was the youngest ever African-American female showrunner when she created the show Girlfriends.
Oh, yeah.
For UPN and the CW, and then later spun that off with the show called The Game, which also ran on CW before moving to BET, and that was she was the only African-American female showrunner to ever have 2 series on at the same time.
Oh.
And her work before that, I mean, she wrote on the Jamie Foxx show, she wrote on Moesha, just tons of stuff. So like, I think she's a big part of why the 2012 version is so much smoother, so much more refined, is like, she's been writing this kind of material forever and really, really made it work.
Yeah. Great points. I know the director of the movie kind of, because I watched some of Black Lightning.
Salim Akil is the guy behind Black Lightning, and they're a couple. They're married. It's cute.
What do you say we actually get into some of the tunes in these movies, Dustin?
You want to play some music for the people? I'm down for that.
I think, we've talked enough about the movies and the background and all of that stuff. I think it's time we let the people hear some of the awesome songs in this movie. Now, in the 1976 version, there are a handful of extra fictional musicians in the movie. Most of them, however, we do not get adequate information. Like, we don't get their names or anything like that. So I'm going to play a small clip of the only one that we get an official name for.
Okay.
And it is a woman by the name of Doreen Baker, who performs a song called Lucky Lips at a Showtime at the Apollo kind of event.
Yeah.
When I was just a little girl in long and clinging curls, my mama told me, you got more than other girls. You may not be good looking, but you'll wear your diamond clips.
Now, the crowd is not enjoying this performance, and she's about to get hooked off of the stage here in a second.
Which is what sets it up as as you said, a Showtime at the Apollo type event. I wasn't sure if it was just Showtime at the Apollo, and I missed the mention, because that is the trademark move, is the long cane.
The
that
cane
comes from off stage and brings you off.
So that is a song that is written by Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller, and was originally recorded by Ruth Brown in 1956. That went to number 6 on the Billboard R&B charts.
Now you may not be good looking, but you soon wear diamond clips, and you'll never have to worry, 'cause you got lucky lips. Lucky lips are always kissing, lucky lips are never blue. Lucky lips will always find a pair of lips that will be true. I don't need a four-leaf clover, rabbit's foot, or good luck charm. With lucky
I really like that. I was not familiar with that song before.
No, I wasn't either. I honestly, I didn't even think to look that one up as being a real song. Of course it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
None of this came from nowhere. And if Curtis Mayfield didn't write it, it came from the existing universe of music of the real world.
Exactly, yeah. Now, as I mentioned, there are other fictional music acts in this movie, but we don't get their name. A good majority of them are seen when Styx, Sparkle, and the crew go to like a live concert, and you hear a rendition of Love Potion Number 9 and Sincerely and other things like that. But, you know, we're not going to be covering that because, newsflash, there's a lot of music in these movies, and we're not going to be covering all of it.
We can't even hit all the originals for this one. But that was a good pull. I'm glad you pulled that one out.
Yeah, well, the Ruth Brown version of the song, when it's supposed to sound good and clean, it's a really rad song. So I just wanted to give a little shine to a song that I had never heard before.
Love that. So, speaking of these original songs,
The first one that we hear is a song called Jump. It is the sisters' first performance, and they are known as the Hearts at the time, and they are joined by Styx and Sister's boyfriend, Levi, at this current time.
oh, poor Levi. They really make him sympathetic in the remake, especially.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do. He gets his comeback real good, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, they really... They really give you a good, satisfying downfall for Satin as well. That
Yes.
you don't get in the original. In the original, he just kind of is terrible and presumably continues to be terrible after Sister dies.
Anyways, here's Jump from 1976.
But boy, don't get shaky. Don't be mad and get flaky. 'Cause there's things you don't know. Let mama show you how it goes. Spread your feet out. Move your hands all out.
I love the claps. I'm a sucker for those claps.
Oh, yeah? I just like that bass line, which is, to be fair, a little too funky, I think, for Supreme's era. But
Okay.
we're in the funk era. Can't help it. Got to have a groove.
I don't know what it is. Horns and claps. I'm always a sucker for both. And this song has both of those things.
There you go. There for your eardrum tickling pleasure. That song is one of the more Supreme sounding songs, though, in general, that I heard. I would say of the... we split this up. I took a couple songs. You took a couple songs. And
Yes.
my songs, I was having a real hard time comparing them to anything by the Supremes,
Oh,
which I'll get to. But that one kind of does sound like more Supreme-y.
that's true.
I think in general, the music they came up with for this movie, for these movies that Curtis Mayfield came up with that were used in both films, are a little more adult, a little more complex in terms of composition, a little more adult in terms of lyrically than the Supremes. The Supremes were pretty, especially at the beginning, pretty bubblegum. Pretty like, my baby, blah, blah, blah. Like music was.
Right. Yes.
It made total sense. They were the biggest thing on the planet because of that. But again, I kept going back to the it's based on the Supreme story, but doesn't quite sound like them. It sounds more something.
Well, it is their early work in the movie, so maybe that sort of helps.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so that's probably some awareness on Mayfield's part too, of like, I'm going to make this era sound like this.
With that, I would like to play the Aretha Franklin version of Jump.
Move your hands out of
Kept those claps.
Kept those claps.
We're gonna turn and join out. And then we're gonna jump. We're gonna shake a little fun. You're doing fine. Hey, baby, you're right on time. There's a fun.
I mean, I'm not going to be saying any sort of a hot take here, but man, her voice is like fucking gold, dude.
Breaking news. Greatest singer ever is greatest singer ever.
Breaking news, Aretha Franklin, good at singing.
This just in. Murder is legal in the state of California.
Oh, Norm.
Yeah, I mean, like it's almost unfair to compare because A, it's Aretha Franklin, and B, we didn't get a properly released soundtrack version of the singers in the movie. We only get them in the scene with the other background sound mix stuff going on. So like it immediately sounds better because it's like full on studio version.
Exactly. I keep wanting to say that the 2012 and the Aretha Franklin version sound fuller, but that's only because the 76 version takes place in this little tiny club, and there's like people talking and chatter,
Yes.
and the instruments are dulled down because of like all of the room noise and all of that random shit. So it's like,
But that is the only audio available to us with those.
yeah, I can't help it. And by the way, forgot to shout out the women vocalists for the 76 version. We have Irene Cara, who plays Sparkle. We have Lonette McKee, who plays Sister. And we have Dwan Smith as Dolores.
All fantastic actresses and singers. Irene Cara is probably the most notable of the three. You may know her from the musical film Fame. You may also know her from her smash hit song, Flashdance. What a feeling, from the film Flashdance.
This song was at least nominated for an Oscar, right?
Oh, I don't know. Probably.
I feel like I mentioned this song beating something else.
Oh.
Did this song beat Huey Lewis at the Oscars?
Maybe it was
No.
that.
No, I think that was a White Knight song. I have too much information in this brain now. This song's killer. Regardless, this song fucking kicks ass.
Yes, it won Best Original Song at the 1983 Oscars.
Okay. Well, all right. So I was on track. That's not the Huey Lewis win.
83. What
I
would
think
have
that
been?
was White Knights, though.
Okay. It also won Best Pop Vocal Performance at the Grammys and Record of the Year at the Grammys.
Hot damn.
She did all right with that one. Oh, it was Max Sledge that it beat.
Oh.
It was Tender Mercies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tender Mercies. So the 2012 version of Jump, the cast of women, Carmen Ejogo as Sister, Jordan Sparks as Sparkle, and Tika Sumpter as Dolores. Now, Tika, I was trying to place her the entire fucking movie, and I couldn't get there until IMDb assisted me after the movie was over. It's the fucking Sonic franchise.
It was Sonic. Yep, same.
It's the fucking Sonic franchise. I couldn't place it for the life of me.
My path was similar. I Googled her and then I saw a screen grab of her with James Marsden. And I was like, what the fuck movie is that? And then I realized it was Sonic the Hedgehog.
So here is the 2012 version of Jump. Yeah, they kept the claps and they added a lot more percussion on this one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's way fuller, which I think is, that's a concession to the times.
Very true.
But I like it. I'm into it.
Oh, I like it a lot. I think that's a great cover.
Each version of this song is appreciable in its own way.
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes we do these comparisons and it's like, oh, well, there's a clear winner. But this one's just like, oh, that's cool that there's 3 versions of this song.
One of the things that I found interesting about Jump in comparing the two movies is their usage. In the 76 version, it's the first song for the Hearts. It's their first performance in that club. In the 2012 version, it's used as the montage to show the passage of time.
Yeah, they changed the placement a little bit.
Yeah, they did. And it works as a montage song the way that the 2012 sounds.
It does, yeah.
It's got a nice movement to it that the montage it just feels natural.
Yeah. It feels like, kind of feels like how Breaking Bad would move time. Like similarly with like Motown music.
Sure. It didn't have those Breaking Bad transitions or crazy camera angles, but...
No, they didn't put the camera in the fridge or whatever.
Right, yeah. But it did showcase the wardrobe department for the movie because it put the women in a bunch of really cool outfits.
It did, yeah. I don't think they had the budget constraints in 2012 that the original did. Not as many, at least.
No, the budget for 2012 was $14 million and the box office total was $24 million.
Oh, wow. So like less of a return, really, than the original.
Yes.
Because the original got 4 on 1, and this was 24 on 14. But I bet it was considered more of a hit because times have changed.
Probably.
Nice. That was a lot of good info on Jump. I would like to bring my first song assignment.
Ooh.
Now, this one's tricky because it is alternately known as Giving Him Something He Can Feel and just Something He Can Feel. I've seen it credited as both depending on which film it's in, who performed it, whatever.
Okay.
But here is, to start, Giving Him Something He Can Feel from the original Sparkle.
I like the ways we have our fun. His love and ways send me on and on with my man. People out there can understand. Giving him something he can feel. To let him know this love is real. Whoa, I'm giving him something he can feel.
Doesn't this sort of feel like a Marvin Gaye song?
Yeah. Yeah, it does a lot. I mean, Marvin Gaye, another Motown Records figure of great note, of great importance. But I will say again, this feels less like the Supremes to me. Because what you said, it being like more like a Marvin Gaye song, it's sexier, it's sultrier, it's more adult than the Supremes were. Pretty sanitized, pretty candy coated. Again, especially in the earlier days, which is what this film is, you know, sort of ostensibly portraying.
Uh-huh.
But I love this tune. And yeah, it totally reminds me of a Marvin Gaye thing. And
Yeah.
you know, they're dancing with it and they have a whole like routine it's just great. It's a great piece of art. Once again, we have an Aretha Franklin cover.
You gotta be kidding me.
I guess, is it a cover? It's not technically a cover because it was kind of written for her too, but we have the Aretha Franklin version from the soundtrack. I see you smiling. It's just because once again, it's just so good.
I'm not going to say anything new here, but it's like the speed in which you're hit with a vocal wall of sound from one human being. And I'm not disparaging anyone that sang in the movie, but it's like one person is hitting you with the force of like 30 speakers.
Dude, like, you know, I mentioned how she took this opportunity from her sister Carolyn. Her sister Carolyn was quoted as saying like something like, I would love to say that the best person for this song didn't sing it, but that's simply not true. Like she knew.
Yeah.
Now, before we get to the 2012 version on this song, there is an intermediate cover that I wanted to hit. It's from the early 90s. I don't remember the exact year.
I do, 1992.
This one by En Vogue.
People out there can understand. I'm giving him something he
And this is a total nod to the, you know, original Sparkle. There, like the music video is the women from En Vogue in these red dresses performing on stage, very much like the Sparkle scene.
something he can feel.
The craziest thing about this whole process of watching these movies was realizing that I knew this version of the song.
Oh, you were familiar with this already.
It didn't click when I was watching the movie and hearing the song.
Uh-huh.
It only clicked when I heard this version of it. And I was like, holy shit, I remember that from being a kid.
Yeah, it had a whole new life in the early 90s.
And this song was the biggest hit for Aretha Franklin, right, Dustin?
It was, yeah, it was a number one hit for her. Her only number one hit of the decade. And that just brings us to, once again, the 2012 take. And this one, for whatever reason, is known as Something He Can Feel rather than Giving Him Something He Can Feel.
Nothing's wrong and it's all right with my man. I like the way we carry on. His loving it sends me on and on with my man.
See, now this one is channeling a lot more of the En Vogue sultriness.
Yeah, definitely. It's informed by that non-canon version from the real world. What I would say here is all of these versions, not just the Aretha one, but all of them sound more like an Aretha Franklin song to me than a Supreme song. Like, it sort of follows the same beats as You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman.
Oh, man. It's going to be hard for me to come off of that En Vogue nostalgia flashback, but we're going to try moving along with the next Curtis Mayfield hit from this movie, the song Look Into Your Heart, which in the movie they say is at 37 and climbing fast on the charts.
Yeah.
And this song has a lot of different alterations throughout the movie. First, we see the recording process where Sparkle is struggling to make the song as powerful and magical as needed. And Styx knows that he can fix the problem, so he goes in there and they sing the song as a duet. I'm not going to play the failed recording because I want to leave a little bit for you to discover on your own when you enjoy this flick in your free time. So let's cue up the duet with Styx from 1976.
And I'm telling everybody out loud that this woman makes me feel so very proud.
When I thought that there was nothing left,
I believe I found myself.
I wanna give me to you, baby. Yeah. So if you look into your heart
With a positive mind.
oh, with a positive mind, take self-inventory, your woman and your glory,
Had things
put 'em
behind.
behind.
It turned out to be a nice little duet there.
Yeah. So Styx is Sparkle's boyfriend and the group's manager.
Yes.
Just in case we haven't said that. But Styx, played by Philip M. Thomas, is channeling his inner Curtis Mayfield on those vocals.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You can hear the songwriter coming through on this track. That's another one where it kind of feels, it's got that feeling like some of the Tender Mercy stuff and the Light of Day stuff that we like,
Yeah.
where it feels real. It feels like on set recording. I don't know if it was, but it's got a live energy to it.
And then later on, we get to hear Sparkle's solo version live on stage.
But for the spices of your life, you've got to pay the price. You know what I mean? Whoa, I'm telling everybody I love how this girl becomes so proud. When I thought
She sounds good. I mean, granted, she's not Aretha Franklin, but motherfucker, she sounds pretty good, you know? She sounds as good as you can sound not being fucking Aretha Franklin.
Sure, which is still a high bar.
Right. And speaking of the queen herself, here she comes.
If you look into your heart with a positive mind, take self-inventory.
The peaks and valleys in which she's able to hit, like, nonchalant is so impressive.
You can tell they did replace the backing vocals on this as well with her backup singers. Yeah, but it's eerie how they didn't like the instrumentation is exactly the same. It's the same tracks with new singing.
Now, in the 2012 version, we do get a duet with Sparkle and Styx yet again, and we have the solo performance as well. Now, the duet between Sparkle and Styx is a little bit different in the 2012 version. Like, Styx sits down and sort of meekly sings along with her to help get the vocals out, and then he just pieces out of the song, goes to get a birthday cake, and comes back.
Yeah, cool, because the scene there is she's trepidatious about embarking on this solo career, this big show that her career depends on, and he's just trying to be like, you can do it, close your eyes, sing.
Again, Jordan Sparks is playing Sparkle, and she does all of her singing. She's a American Idol winner. She won season 6 of American Idol at 17 years old in 2007.
Wow.
I think that's extraordinarily impressive.
Yeah, for a non-actor, you know, like someone coming in from the music place, and for them also to be a contest winner, essentially. I know American Idol is insanely hard to win, but what I'm getting at is she works so well as Sparkle and feels so natural.
We're going to have this same conversation in Dreamgirls with Jennifer Hudson, Dustin.
Oh, yeah, we are.
everybody's got a story about the love and the good things, but all the
got to pay the price if you know what I mean.
But yeah, you can hear that Jordan Sparks is a singer when she is singing, and it is great.
Her version of that song sounds a little bit more out of a stage musical.
I wonder if that's just because that version is only a piano.
Maybe, yeah.
Do you find that in the solo performance that I'm about to play now?
And I'm telling everybody out loud that this man of mine makes me so very proud. When I thought
No, not as much. It's totally because it was so vocally dependent with the last one.
if I found myself, I wanna give it to you, baby.
This is like earlier Alicia Keys territory.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Just an insanely talented person and their piano and their voice.
And just to play you a Jordan Sparks song that doesn't have to do with the movie Sparkle, I would like to play you the top 10 Billboard hit Battlefield.
I never meant to start a war. You know I never wanna hurt you. Don't even know what we're fighting for. Why does love always feel like a battlefield? A battlefield, a battlefield. Why does love always feel like a battlefield? A battlefield, a battlefield. Why does love always feel like
I feel like she needs to reach out to Pat Benatar.
Comparing love to a battlefield.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Miss
yeah.
Benatar, she might have some answers for Jordan.
You know what I like about that song you just played is the little, I don't know if it's a theremin or something, some digital thing approximating a theremin in the background, the little woo, woo. It
Yeah,
reminds
yeah.
me of, there's an instrument in Single Ladies by Beyonce that's sort of the
Okay.
same. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like it's, like if you just hear it on its own, it sounds weird and out of place, but it is this little thing that makes the song what it is when you put it in the mix of soup.
I'm having trouble placing it.
It's right at the very beginning, so I'm just going to play it for you so we can get it out there.
I'm a single lady.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever notice that before? Yeah.
I did notice that before, but I couldn't hear it until you played it.
Yeah, that whoop, whoop. I did not notice that for the longest time, and it was brought to my attention by another podcast that breaks down songs that I listen to called Strong Songs.
Oh, okay.
Breaks down this song, and like right away it gets to like, yeah, this weird little sound that's like weird and seemingly sort of out of place, but like makes it all come together. It's a vital part of Single Ladies.
That's awesome.
All right, keeping this train rolling. My next song is called Hooked on Your Love. And Shawn, this is my favorite song from the movie.
What can I say that you can't see? I like the way we carry on. Hope you understand my feelings. You got me just a reeling. What can I do with this feeling? Hooked on your love, sweet love, love. What can I do? What can I do? Oh, yeah. With this feeling, hooked on your love, sweet love, love.
The composition of the chorus is fucking fantastic in this. How it's like start-stoppy.
Oh,
It's so good.
Oh, dude. I mean, that's what makes it my favorite. That like sparse bit of drums and stuff that you get on the chorus. Yeah.
It's almost chip-choppy.
It's almost chip choppy. Moving on. Let's get the Aretha version.
What can I say? Can't you see? I like the way we carry on. Hope you understand my feelings, baby. Just be reeling. What can I do? Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby. Yeah. Hooked on.
Those horns really get me. I'm sure they're working for you too.
You bet they are.
Now, Shawn, I once again have a fourth version of this song to play because guess what? En Vogue went all in and they did this one too.
We carry on. Hope you understand my feelings. Got me just a reeling. What can I do with this feeling? Don't you love
The percussion isn't as strong in this one.
feeling, baby?
It's a little smoother.
What can I do? Yeah. With this feeling. Don't you love sweet love, love?
I do have a quick clip from 2012 of Hooked on Your Love when Sparkle is by herself at the piano, sort of rehearsing the song.
You bring out the woman in me. What can I say that you can't
Just wanted to give that stripped down version.
Very nice. Good call. I love all the stuff like that they do in the 2012 one. And that just leaves us with the final version from 2012.
You understand my feelings, got me just a relay. What can I do with this feeling? Hooked on your love, sweet love, love. What can I do with this feeling? Hooked on your love, sweet love. I'm hooked on your love. With this.
I gotta say, I feel like you're totally on point with the 2012 version, adding more of like the Aretha Franklin connection to the story. I feel like the music is more influenced by early 90s R&B music like En Vogue.
Like En Vogue.
Because in general, the music in the 2012 is way more sultry and sexy sounding, both vocally and musically.
Yes, I would have to agree with you. Yeah, and that's what, a product of being made when it was made, being made by who it was made by. I mean, Whitney Houston
Sure.
is part of that scene.
Right.
So was the guy we're trying not to name.
But even in Sister's first performance in the 2012 version, the song Yes I Do, written by Gordon Banks, Warren Fielder, and Andrew Wanzel, she rips part of her skirt, you know, to show more leg and like
Yeah.
really gets into like that the sexy motions and movements while she's singing.
Never leave you. Ain't enough money. See, we've been through. Yes, we made it, and I refuse to let you go. And I wanna spread the news.
Once again, this is a song that reminds me more of the Supremes than of like Aretha Franklin's back catalog. I
Oh,
think we're
sure.
back in the world of the inspiration. Like that doesn't seem a far cry from Stop in the Name of Love.
Right. Yeah.
Been sweet to you. Stop in the name.
But just stylistically, I feel like, you know, again, like I've said, like some of these songs don't really remind me of the Supremes, but that one I can get there.
The vocals for Yes I Do were provided by Carmen Ejogo, and the song is written by Sparkle in the universe. Sister performs at the Discovery Club. It is her first performance of the movie, and this is an original song written for the 2012 remake. There are quite a few original songs written for the 2012 remake. We've been tap dancing around CeeLo Green being the author of one of these songs,
Yeah.
and we've been tap dancing around R. Kelly being the author of a handful of the songs as well.
Yeah, he was unfortunately pretty involved with this.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and fire off one of his tunes now, just so that way we're not fucking ending on an R. Kelly song.
Sure, and this would be an important one because it is the last song Whitney Houston ever recorded. Is that correct?
Yes, it's called Celebrate. It is Whitney Houston and Jordan Sparks.
Everybody's been so uptight and forgetting to live the life. Let all the problems get them down till it makes you wanna shout. Oh yeah, see everybody's been down on luck. Yeah, now finally things are looking up. Ooh, yeah.
Their voices meld really well together.
Yeah.
No more obstacles in our way. Yeah. It's time to celebrate. Come on, yeah. Come on, celebrate. That's what I want. I wanna celebrate because it's so bright. I celebrate you. I celebrate you.
It's a really good song. Like it's got a lot of energy to it. The vocal performances are super strong. If you're going to have a last tune that you ever put out, I mean, this is a pretty good one to take your curtain call for.
Yeah.
It did hit number 54 on the Billboard R&B and hip hop charts.
That's surprising that it only went that high, given it's her last song.
Yeah, and the fact that it's not a bad song at all. It's a pretty good song.
Yeah, but like you would think like if we unearthed a Whitney Houston song now, it would go to number one.
No shit,
You know,
right?
Anything.
I'm willing to bet there are still so many people that don't know that this song exists, so it could be unearthed right now and go to number 1.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
I just wanted to play 1 second of the song One Wing, which is like toward the very end of the movie, of the 2012 movie.
Now I'm on the run with my life, waiting to take off, but I can't know.
This is the song that Sparkle dedicates to her sister at the end of the movie.
It is, and it's a reference to, I didn't catch the line in the 2012 one, but in 1976 movie, it's a reference to when sister is spiraling, she spilled the Coke on the floor, and she's trying to...
Oh, right.
She's like, sister can't fly on
Sister
only
can't
one
fly
wing.
with one wing. Yeah.
So that's a little like
wow.
in-universe reference to that, to the original performance.
Okay, I did not pick up on that till right now, so good call, buddy. Wow.
I think she says that line twice. It's first when you see her doing Coke for the first time and you're like, uh-oh, where's this gonna go? And she's just kind of like offhandedly like, sister can't fly on only one wing. And then later she's like breaking down and like, at her bottom crying, can't fly on only one wing.
The final song that I would like to bring up is a song from the 2012 movie called Running, written by Charles Harmon and Claude Kelly. It is performed by the singer Guapole, and she performs with a girl group in the movie. However, we do not get the name of the girl group, and her credit is just girl group performer. So I don't know.
It is what it is on that one, yeah.
Taking down all I know, trying to relieve my soul, but it don't make me feel no better. If I knew how to let you go, no more fragility. Walking through your door, begging on my knees. I'm saying all these words, but every time I see you, I get weak. In my heart, I wish this love would last, but I can't seem to leave you. Now,
Dustin, was there anything that sounded even slightly familiar about this song?
Yeah, the run in part, for sure.
Oh, you mean this?
And the bass keeps running.
From this Black Eyed Peas song?
That's
Let's
what
Get
it is.
Started?
Yeah.
Which is a sample of this Leaders of the New School song, Bases Loaded? I about shit my pants when I heard that.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy. As soon as I heard the run in part, I was like, that's familiar, and I don't know why. And that makes sense. The Black Eyed Peas live in a special place in my head where the lyrics are hammered in, but I don't like remember the songs per se.
Uh-huh. The Black Eyed Peas was 2003. Leaders of the New School was 1993.
Wow. Okay. So I guess the Sparkle version was influenced by those tracks, presumably.
There's no way.
No,
There's
yeah.
no way. Let's Get It Started was such a massive fucking song.
Yes. Let's not forget that wasn't the original title of that song. They changed it to clean it up for society.
That's true.
Back to that song real quick that you just played, the one from the movie. That is the most Supreme song I've heard so far.
It's my favorite song that's not a remake of a Curtis Mayfield song.
Yeah. It's got, if I can just play a quick off-the-cuff clip.
Yeah, play whatever you want.
It's got You Can't Hurry Love vibes.
Oh.
I need love to ease my mind. I need to
Yeah, that's a good point, bud.
By the way, the Supremes have like a YouTube account, like an active YouTube account. And all these songs are posted with like these kind of cool motion graphics and lyrics, music videos that they've made.
Oh, cool.
For our modern visual styles.
Awesome. Good job, Supremes. So now that we've tackled all of the songs we're going to cover in this episode, Dustin, you know what I'm going to ask you, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
If Sister and the Sisters, The Hearts, or Sparkle were real, would you listen to them in our reality?
Yep, grand slam all around.
Hell yeah. Especially if they have Curtis Mayfield writing their tunes. I mean, it's not going to get any better than that.
Hey, can we just get more Curtis Mayfield? No, unfortunately, but
we just got more Curtis Mayfield
did.
right now.
In our lives,
so, I
yeah.
mean, yes, if you are in our boat, listeners, you can have new Curtis Mayfield as well.
that's true. Yeah, go watch Sparkle. Go listen to it at least. It's a good album. Whatever version you pick.
And if you can find the movies, go ahead and fucking watch those too, because both of them are very good and have different merits and different points that they make.
Yeah.
And they each serve their own unique purpose. And for once, I'm not mad at a remake for like tarnishing the prior thing, or it made it its own property.
Really did.
While still paying tribute to the old one. And it did really smart, fun, interesting changes.
Yeah, man. You said it.
I agree with you. I would listen to this music if they were putting out full albums. So, you know, if you listening out there right now had any fun today in the 1950s, because I know you've been hankering for it. You've been wanting us to get back to the 50s. We just talked about The Wedding Singer. That was in the 80s, no 50s. Now you got a full-on 50s episode. So if you liked it, give us a rating and review, like and subscribe if you're currently watching this on YouTube. And thanks, Adam, for fucking doing those illustrations. And yeah, again, Dustin, thank you for doing the animations, because that shit just looks killer, bro.
Oh, thanks, man. But yeah, big thanks to Adam for giving us anything to work with.
Oh, yeah.
Because neither of us could have come up with that.
Nope. And if you have any fictional bands that you want us to cover in the future, go ahead and drop us a line at fictionradiopod@gmail.com.
And find us online at fictionradiopod.com.
See you next week.
Watching movies, jamming out. K-Flix 198.4 Fiction Radio.